Welcome to Navy Exclusive, where we deliver the facts with authority. Imagine having only 16 bullets left while facing an enemy that fires hundreds of rounds every single night. That is the exact reality for Ukraine and its dwindling Patriot missile stockpile. Today, we are going to expose the critical shortage of the world's most advanced air defense system and reveal why the global supply chain is pushed to its absolute breaking point. We will break down the staggering consumption rates, the multi-million-dollar price tags, and the high-stakes political battle over who gets the next shipment. The numbers coming out of the defense sector should shock you. Ukraine reportedly has around 16 interceptors left in its entire central Patriot stockpile. That is 16 missiles to stop a nation capable of launching dozens of ballistic strikes in a single night. To keep its cities standing and its power grid running, Ukraine needs between 60 and 180 Patriot interceptors every single month. Meanwhile, the entire production line in the United States currently turns out only about 65 missiles a month. Do the math, and you instantly understand why Ukrainian officials have been sending increasingly urgent letters to Washington. But here is where the story gets even more complicated. While Ukraine was begging for missiles it could not get, the United States was firing through its own stockpile at a staggering rate to defend against Iran. We are talking about over 1,000 Patriot interceptors burned through in a matter of weeks, with each one costing millions of dollars. That is not a typo. A single missile built to knock another missile out of the sky costs more than most people will earn in their entire lives. So now, the question on the table in Washington is brutal and simple. If the United States just used up nearly half its own Patriot inventory fighting a war in the Middle East, what is actually left for Ukraine? Furthermore, who decides who gets the next missile off the production line? Let us look at what Ukraine is actually dealing with on the ground right now. The country is believed to be running around 10 operational Patriot batteries. These systems have a combined arsenal until you realize how fast that number drops during a heavy enemy strike. During routine attacks, Ukraine burns through 60 to 70 interceptors a month just keeping the lights on, literally. But when the bombardment campaign ramps up, especially with ballistic missiles aimed at power plants, that number spikes. It can easily hit 150 or even 180 interceptors in 30 days. Ask yourself this: how long can any country sustain that kind of consumption rate when the world's biggest weapons manufacturer can only produce a fraction of that? Here is the number that puts everything into perspective perfectly. In just 4 months, Ukraine used up around 700 Patriot interceptors. Lockheed Martin, the company that builds these systems, only made 600 in the entire year before that. Ukraine alone outpaced an entire year of American production in a third of the time. This massive disparity explains why the strategic bottleneck has become an existential threat. Because of this bottleneck, Ukraine has gone directly to Washington and to Congress. They have formally requested permission to manufacture Patriot interceptors on Ukrainian soil under license. Think about that for a second. Ukraine is no longer just asking for missiles. They are asking to build the missiles themselves, because waiting for foreign shipments has become too unpredictable. But here is where the bureaucracy gets frustrating. The man at the center of the production side, a Lockheed Martin vice president, recently said something that should worry every ally. He admitted his own company does not control who gets priority. Lockheed builds the missiles, but the Pentagon decides where they go. That means even the manufacturers cannot promise Ukraine where they will land on the list. If you have never seen one up close, the Patriot system looks deceptively simple. It consists of a radar unit, a handful of box-like launchers mounted on trucks, and a control station. Inside that station, soldiers track and engage incoming threats, but what is happening inside that box is some of the most advanced engineering the American defense industry has ever produced. The interceptor most people are talking about right now, interceptor. Instead of exploding near its target and hoping shrapnel does the job, this missile uses hit-to-kill technology. It physically rams into the incoming threat at extremely high speed, using pure kinetic force to destroy it. It is the difference between throwing a grenade near a target and threading a needle through it at several times the speed of sound. Each one of these interceptors can range anywhere from 20 to 35 miles depending on the target. They are designed specifically to take down ballistic missiles, the fast, high-altitude weapons that are nearly impossible to stop with older technology. A single Patriot battery, which includes the radar, launchers, and support equipment, runs well over $1 billion. Setting one of these systems up is not instant either. Moving a battery into position, calibrating the radar, and linking it with command systems takes time. It can take anywhere from several hours for a basic setup to multiple days for a fully integrated combat-ready position. It is not something you can just unbox and fire within minutes. This is especially true in a contested environment where the system itself becomes a prime target the moment it powers on. Now for the cost everyone keeps asking about. A single PAC-3 enhanced interceptor runs between $4 and $6 million per missile, depending on the specific contract. Multiply that by the hundreds being fired every month, and you see why even the wealthiest country on Earth struggles to keep pace. This is not a system you can mass-produce overnight. Every missile takes specialized components, highly skilled labor, and a complex supply chain. The current global infrastructure simply was not built to handle the intense demand the world is throwing at it. Here is a question worth sitting with. If the most powerful country on the planet is struggling to produce enough missiles for itself and its allies, what happens to smaller nations standing further back in line? This supply crunch is exactly why a different system called THAAD has entered the conversation. Short for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, it is often described as Patriot's bigger, more expensive cousin. Where Patriot handles shorter-range threats closer to the ground, THAAD simply cannot touch. We are talking about interception ranges up to 124 miles and altitudes up to 93 miles, but that extra reach comes at an extreme price. Each THAAD interceptor costs around $12 to $13 million. That is more than double what a single Patriot missile costs. A single THAAD battery, complete with its radar and support systems, can run north of $2 billion. The United States currently fields only about 7 of these batteries total, with roughly 380 interceptors in the entire American inventory. That is a fraction of what would be needed if multiple high-intensity conflicts broke out at once. So is THAAD a real alternative for a country like Ukraine? Realistically, it cannot act as a replacement. THAAD is built to intercept threats Patriot cannot reach, not to replace Patriot's role defending cities from shorter-range ballistic and cruise missiles. The two systems are meant to work together, layered on top of each other, not used as substitutes. And given how limited THAAD-owned stockpile already is, there is an uncomfortable truth here. Even if Ukraine wanted THAAD batteries, there simply may not be enough units to spare in the first place. This leaves global strategists in a very difficult position. So, where does that leave Ukraine right now? They are stuck in a holding pattern, dependent on emergency shipments from European allies and a pending manufacturing request. Meanwhile, a critical Pentagon report on the matter is not even due to Congress until October. The production lines meant to fix all of this will not fully ramp up for years. The uncomfortable truth is this. The Patriot system is not failing because the technology does not work. It is facing a crisis because the entire world suddenly needs the exact same handful of missiles at the same time. There simply are not enough factories on Earth keeping up with that kind of demand. If you got value from this video, smash that like button, it really helps the channel. And subscribe to Navy Exclusive for more deep dives like this. Hit the bell so you never miss an analysis when it drops. Thanks for watching.